Faramir, and this is IhearthU versus Fnatic. And we have a Druid from Frezzar right away, and Faramir bringing out the Shaman. Really interesting start right here just for you guys.
Yeah, the Druid isn't too surprising since it's a fairly standard deck, and it's not really going to hard counter anything that Faramir has. So if you feel confident with the deck, then bringing it out is probably one of the strongest moves. Keeping the Innervate in his opening hand is going to feel so great as long as he can get something to play on curve. He does have the potential to maybe Innervate out a Keeper of the Grove if we saw... if we see the Nerubian Egg. Actually, this could be the play, since he doesn't have anything much better. He also does have the choice to Hero Power this turn and save it for the Druid of the Claw the turn after, and I would expect him to charge it in if we saw a Flame Tongue Totem, but otherwise just taunt it up.
So we just see Hero Power here from Frezzar, and it is back to Faramir with 3 mana. Excuse me, with 2 mana. Actually, just coined that out, and we're going to see just here a Totem, which is kind of pretty much making sense. You want to build up your board to allow that Flame Tongue Totem to get a significant amount of value when it comes down.
It's actually going to let you take out this Druid of the Claw without that much pain. You just Flame Tongue, and you still do have to use the Rockbiter weapon to get that extra 2 damage. But this is going to look really strong. He has basically a 6/4 out on the board to mirror the 4/6 that he just took out.
Well, it is 5. He will have to use both minions. Oh, 6/4 after the fact, correct. Yeah. So he did have to use both minions, but now he has a 6/4 left over, absolutely.
The immediate swipe just to take care of the huge Nerubian, but he isn't able to finish off the Flame Tongue Totem, which means that he can then get value from these Feral Spirits he has in his hand, and if there's nothing taking out the Flame Tongue Totem soon, he's going to be able to continue putting out totems, putting out minions that benefit from that attack, and really trading favorably against this Druid.
Yeah, now, I mean, what do you do here? Do you bring out the Keeper of the Grove and get rid of the Flame Tongue Totem? Or do you, Hero Power and Wrath, getting rid of, starting to chip away at these Ferals? I mean, neither are phenomenal answers because nothing ultimately deals with both Ferals. So it's more likely than not we'll see 2 damage on the Flame Tongue Totem as we see it coming down here, just to prevent a really solid trade for one of those 2 Feral Spirits.
It doesn't feel great to put down a 2-attack minion against both of the Feral Spirits, but really the 2 damage was the important part there. Now it's going to allow a pretty good trade from Faramir, but at least he doesn't have the value coming out of the Flame Tongue Totem anymore. He does have some pretty strong turns coming up soon, though. He can play either the Azure Drake or the Sylvanas Windrunner to help up against any of these minions that Druid wants to be playing once it gets into later turns.
And bringing the Wrath down for 3 gets rid of 1, Hero Powering the 2/1 to get rid of it, and then his own Haunted Creeper, which will start to help him build the board as it gets dealt with little by little. Unless, of course, it gets Earth Shocked. We'll see.
Oh yeah, it's too perfect to not Earth Shock it.
Yeah.
The spell damage just cleans it up so easily.
And now he's overkilling.
Spectral Spiders. Yeah.
But there we go. We get a Drake on board, which is really nice. So now we have a 7-mana turn here. And he again has a Keeper of the Grove, but that alone will not deal with the Drake. And that's mostly what he's got to be concerned with here. So what would you do in this position?
You know, it's pretty hard. He does have the potential to just try and clear it with the Force of Nature. There's not a great curve if you try to... I mean, there's not a great way to spend your mana if you play out the Keeper of the Grove. And I really think that he's got to wait on it because it's just going to die to the... Well, I suppose he's just going to take... Oh no, he's going to use a Savage Roar. Wow, just for 2 damage. That is a pretty unfortunate use of the card. And
Frezzar down to 2 cards. Doesn't have an Ancient of Lore to refill his hand. And we see in his opponent's hand, we have a Sylvanas, an Egg, we have a Hex, Big Game Hunter. So Sylvanas comes down. And this deck, ooh, really good pickup here from Frezzar, getting the Ancient of Lore, which will both compete with Sylvanas and refill his hand. That could be nice. The other option here would be to Force here, just to get rid of Sylvanas and give no minions to trade.
Yeah, I think that Force is probably the stronger play, just because if you do throw out the Ancient of Lore, you either have to throw in your Keeper now, or give him a free Keeper, which isn't going to be favorable at all.
Yeah. And
you've already used Savage Roar, so this Force of Nature isn't worth quite as much in your hand.
That's true. And let's talk about Frezzar deck. Frezzar's Shaman, excuse me, Faramir Shaman. He's got two Nerubian eggs, which is something we saw fall out of favor with the Shaman. And he also has Reincarnate, which kind of is allowing him to potentially get some other play with that Nerubian if he doesn't draw into Flame Tongue, which we saw earlier. Yeah, we're going to see that Sylvanas trade. But where you have a Reincarnate, you have a Sylvanas. So that's where the Sylvanas comes into play. All of this leading back to an ability to get out smaller minions, more minions, stealing minions. And then at the end of the day, we do see here a Bloodlust at the end of the day of this this Faramir Shaman deck. So a very interesting breed of Shaman.
Yeah, it's actually the deck that Cleanso, or it's pretty close to the deck that Cleanso took to rank 1 EU just earlier in the week. What we saw there was a bit of a misplay. He killed Sylvanas before finishing up the Wrath of Air totem, which meant that the final minion was stolen by Sylvanas, and even though it died at the end of the turn, he wasn't able to use it to kill the Wrath of Air totem.
To kill the Wrath of Air totem. That's just unnecessary. That's too bad.
Yeah. I mean, it's just the difference between 1 damage in the face and actually killing the spell damage. Just kind of a sloppy mistake there from Frezzar. He's not in the worst position, but Faramir's just been looking so good. That's basically the biggest minion that you can target with spells in the deck, and so Hex is going to come down and leave Faramir feeling pretty good about this board.
And unless we see another Flame Tongue come down, it's going to be impossible unless we see a Flame Tongue that's next to a Fire Elemental. That Big Game Hunter is in Faramir's hand, isn't in Frezzar's. I was thinking about the Black Knight momentarily, but alright, so turn 10 here. He's got I think the big thing he wants to clear here is the Lotheb, right? That's what's on his mind. And
yeah, he has the potential to clear it if he uses Force of Nature here.
Yeah.
And he might need to, just because overall things aren't looking too hot. He could certainly draw first with Wild Growth.
Mm-hmm. He could Force of Nature and Defender of Argus, one of the forced minions, giving it 3 health, so one of those and the other one will kill it. That'll also give his... It's not really great, but it allows him to then use that other 2-drop and the Frog to get rid of, let's just say well, no, we'd have to clear the Taunt first. So
right.
He's actually still only going to clear, either way, the Lotheb and the Taunt, no matter what he does here. But he'll get a 1-2 on the Frog if he chooses to do it. He doesn't like any of these options. He's going to Wild Growth into something, see if he can find a better answer here.
I suspect we're going to see Force of Nature Hero Power here. Wow, actually chooses to leave Lotheb up for the turn. That will be a really, really nice trade for Lotheb if he chooses to go into the Black Knight here.
Wow. Yeah, Faramir's I think in a really good spot here. Granted, they're equal on cards, but I just think Faramir's in a better position based on what he has in his hand and his ability to push. And he's not in any danger of lethal from Force Savage combo.
Absolutely not. And with the Taunt Totems are going to keep rolling in. At this point, you have a 50% chance to get it out there. That stops so much damage from the combo. You've already seen 1 Savage Roar and 1 Force of Nature, and you know that Frezzar doesn't have a board to use a Savage Roar with. When you have this amount of board control up against the Druid, it's really, really hard to lose it, since cards that usually get you board control, like Swipe, can't do much against this board at all. He is going to be able to Force of Nature and just clear 2 totems and kill the Lotheb, but overall it's just a huge expense, not getting much benefit out of it. Faramir definitely still has the board at this point.
And seeing 2 Harvest Golems, knowing that there's a Bloodlust in this deck, knowing that there are Flame Tongue Totems in this deck, knowing there are Feral Spirits in this deck, this is the exact position you want to be in, waiting to draw into your finisher.
It definitely would be, but I mean, right now there's just so much of a board for Faramir. It's going to be hard to lose it, because what can Frezzar do besides slowly play out minions while he loses health?
Yeah.
One thing I've got to say, I'm surprised we didn't see the Lightning Storm there to remove the...
Well, he's got the spell power, and I think the idea there is that if he starts to bring bigger minions, he wants his minions to trade more efficiently.
Okay, so you mean because he has spell power, he waits a turn because he knows he can kill it the next turn?
He could have, yes, exactly. He can kill it this turn, definitely, if he uses it this turn, and there should be another minion on the board.
Right, yeah, so that is pretty safe. If if Frezzar would have attacked with this turn, then
Yes.
it would have been pretty rough. But it looks like he's not going to. And I mean, ultimately, it probably wouldn't be the smartest. Oh, but this Defender of Argus is actually going to make it so the Lightning Storm won't guaranteed.
Right, but there's going to probably be a trade too, I'm thinking, because the board's just too scary for Frezzar. He might not trade, but if not trading is almost as bad as trading, neither are good options. And now we're going to see the Lightning Storm only being a 50-50 to get rid of it. But again, let's see what Faramir draws. So he did draw a Fire Elemental. He's on 8 mana, so it would most likely be a Storm here now that the board's kind of getting a little bigger.
Oh, he rolls low.
He will roll low, yes. And here it comes. Yeah.
I can predict it.
You can predict the future. You've got it.
I can see into the future. Unfortunately, he really would have loved to be able to play that Fire Elemental that turn as well, but the overload from last turn was preventing him from using that 3 damage. Fortunately, Battle Cries can target Spectre Knight, even if your abilities and spells cannot.
And it looks like he's using the Feral Spirit to kill his 5/1, which means he's playing around Swipe, because he could have used the other Golem, but he doesn't want an additional Swipe to clear both of his damaged Golems, which I think is a fine play here.
Yeah, very true. And I mean, if you look at this board, you have 2 strong Death Rattles. You have just so many small minions that even if it gets swiped, you should be able to build it up back fairly easily and have a couple minions left over.
Yes. Yeah, those Death Rattles are going to be really nice. I do like him effectively preventing any kind of AoE or significant minion damage from clearing everything with potentially a 4/4 and a 2/1 coming out regardless. Unless, of course, Frezzar has a whole bunch of stuff, but if he did, he probably would have used it already. So, still a very strong position for Faramir with 10 mana here. We could see Druid of the Claw and a Wrath. Let's see, yeah. So there's your Wrath. There's your Hero Power, and here comes your Druid of the Claw. Coming down in taunt mode. He needs everything he can get. Still not attacking with that 5/2 Shade. And we see an Earth Shock here.
And at this point, what could kind of be hurting Faramir is that he has very low attack on the board, and so it's actually pretty hard to clear things, but once he gets at this Fire Elemental, that's really going to change it, especially since he's seen both Force of Natures. He knows it's going to be very difficult to deal that 5 damage.
Yeah.
Unless, of course, he uses the Shade of Naxxramas.
Right. Okay, so here down comes that Fire Elemental.
And he has the potential to... he's just going to send in his totem, most likely. And
Yeah.
he totems before he sends it in because he does want the taunt totem instead of the 1/1. This is really nice because it protects his Fire Elemental from the Shade of Naxxramas itself.
Yep. And that swipe alone won't even kill the 6/5. So he'd still have to hero power into it, taking 6 more damage, which he really can't afford to do. Really tricky position here. Even buffing up his Shade to a 7/4 doesn't do much more than a 6/3 at this point.
We don't see lethal from Faramir quite yet.
No.
He will be able to push through for 8 regardless, using that Earth Shock. However, I do expect to see a hero power or a swipe take out this damage golem at least.
And that big game hunter might get some play here from Faramir.
It'll stay on 6 attack. I mean, unless he buffs it up with the Defender of Argus.
Yeah.
And we could see it come out, and that would just... I mean, that would instantly lock up the game for Faramir.
I don't know. Yeah, he was thinking about swiping the Fire Elemental. That doesn't do anything, actually. Because you have to... Unless he uses the 6/3 to get rid of the 0/2 and then takes 6 more to the dome.
Yeah, I think he's got to do that at this point. He has to leave his minion on the board. And you are protected by what is a weakened Lord of the Arena at this point.
Yep.
But
So
the Earth
this-
Shock is going to do some work.
Yeah. Yeah, so he's just 1 attack away from being big game huntered. With an Earth Shock as well as a big game hunter. He could... Let's think about this. Earth Shock, he'd need 1 more spell power to absolutely kill this 6/3.
You could turn it into a 2/1 though, and I think that would be perfectly fine. Especially
Actually, no,
since
it would kill it. It's a 2/2, so it would kill it. It's a base 2/2, right?
Oh, you're very right.
Yeah, it's a base 2/2, so it would be gone. So I expect to see that. It's a good value here. I was trying to remember what the base was because we rarely ever see it. He does start to trade in. He wants to save that Earth Shock for something special, for maybe for Christmas next year. Put it in the stocking. And okay, so with a pretty strong board, it's going to leave Frezzar. Ooh, an Ancient of Lore. So okay, so we can play that out. Probably for health at this point because he's dead to the board.
Definitely for health. Because if he doesn't, then he dies the next turn. I mean, unless he was hoping that one of those two cars was like the third swipe or the third wrath. Okay. Innervate worked too.
An Innervate would allow him to put down the defender. But okay, so he's going to clear that minion. So the question is, do we have enough damage here? That's 8 right now. He just needs any 3-cost, either spell or flame, not flame. Any 3-cost damage spell will do it. Lightning Bolt.
We don't have lightning bolts in this deck. Hex is going to be a really nice draw here, even though it wasn't the 3 damage that we were hoping for. It's another way to remove the 5/5. He's been able to hex both of these Ancient of Lores, and it's really kept Faramir's board strong.
Yeah. Yeah. No lightning bolts and no rock biters.
And we will see the double ooze though.
Yeah.
It's pretty nice to get these 2 taunts up, and actually
he can just end this though now, because he can get rid of one of them with the Earth Shock, at least get rid of its taunt, use his 2 minions to get rid of the other one, and then hit with the 6/4. And that, my friends, will be game number 1. And we have Faramir taking the first game, getting rid of this Druid deck of Frezzar.
Yeah, very, very nice play. Just consistently keeping the board control throughout that entire game from Faramir. Get those early boosts of your momentum.
Yeah. And Frezzar here coming out with the Hunter as you suspected and recommended. This version's running 1 Unleash, not 2, with those Jugglers. So that's an interesting bit of change in the tech there. 1 Houndmaster as well. What are your thoughts on this variant? Let me just tell you, 1 Flare. And then, of course, 2 Undertakers, 2 Leper Gnomes, Web Spinners, and such.
Okay. Yeah, fairly typical. We've definitely seen this before. The Knife Jugglers are really good with Unleash the Hounds, but Unleash the Hounds isn't really great enough by itself to run 2 because it's lost that synergy with the Starving Buzzards. But the Haunted Creepers are one of the best points of synergy for the Knife Jugglers, so if you can go, turn 1 coin Haunted Creeper, turn 2 Knife Juggler, you can really take out whatever early minions your opponent can play out.
Yeah.
Does this deck have any Snake Traps in it?
It does. 2 Snake Traps, 1 Freezing.
Okay, yeah, the Snake Traps with the Knife Juggler as well. Incredibly strong.
Yeah. Very, very strong. On 3 mana, we're going to see a Freezing Trap, just trying to gain some tempo here. And then, of course, the Leper Gnome. And he says that didn't quite hit the mark. What the heck is that?
I'm not sure I can look into the mind behind the BM. But, it's really strong because Harvest Golem is a card that doesn't have any effect when you play it. It's just for board presence, and so if that gets Freezing Trapped, it's the best thing to possibly Freezing Trap. There are a lot of other minions either with Taunt that you can then keep for later, or that give something with a Battle Cry, like Azure Drake or Defender of Argus, that aren't that bad to get Freezing Trapped, because you can replay them again later for the effect the second time. Harvest Golem is just going to be a really, really heavy minion that's not worth its cost for quite some time.
Yeah, I mean, it's not ever going to be worth its cost at this point. It cost you 3, it'll cost you 5 more. So you can think of it as an 8 cost for a 2/3 and a 2/1. I mean, that's really brutal. I like seeing the weapon here. You definitely got to get rid of these ferals. Trading in the weapon and 1 charge, as well as his 2 other minions, is pretty standard for the Hunter. They're okay with this. It's not ideal, but they have enough minions to refill their hand and keep moving forward. And he gets a Snake Trap here, so he's going to want that Juggler down ASAFP.
Yeah, definitely. I haven't heard that variant with the F in there. And what's super cool is, without a Lightning Bolt in this deck, the only way he's going to be able to remove this minion is with a Lightning Storm or with direct damage. And so
Yep.
if he puts the Rock Biter on this Nerubian Egg, it attacks in, and 2 of the 3 juggles hit the Nerubian Egg, it won't be able to kill the Knife Juggler.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. And we see a Drake coming down, I think giving us a little bit of a clue that that might happen. That he knows that that might happen.
Oh, high main into high main.
Double high main. That's brutal. That's one of the most painful cards for Shaman to deal with. He does have 1 Hex, which is the perfect answer, but you need that second Hex, or you need a Storm, or you need an Earth Shock. He doesn't have any of that right now, but he could draw into it. So, yeah, I'd be shocked to see anything but the high main come down. Good to think through your plays here, but I don't like anything nearly as much as this.
Yeah, the Hex is going to really be devastating, but what's kind of unfortunate about the Hex for Faramir here is it creates a taunt, which means you have to attack the Hunter's minions, and you have to proc that Snake Trap, unless you're able to get it with something like a Fire Elemental in a later turn. He actually attacks face here to test the trap. This is his first time being able to do that, and since the trap didn't trigger when he hit the face, he knows that it has to be snakes.
Mm-hmm. God, why did it have to be snakes, man?
Oh man, I was really hoping there'd be some interaction with Harrison Jones and Snake Trap, but
there
unfortunately,
needs to be. Hopefully they'll get on that. They're busy with an expansion. It's this little thing, not a big deal, but once they get over that, they'll hopefully get some cool interactions in there.
I love the requests for things I understand, like deck slots, like bug fixes, and then people come out with like, we really need this interaction.
Somebody said, like, with Blizzard making their reasoning for not having additional deck slots, that it could be too confusing for players. How the heck could anyone expect a wild growth into a card that's 0 cost into a draw 1 card mechanic as less complicated than getting an additional deck slot? I thought that was pretty fun.
Yeah, that's pretty true. I think the answer was the card text is short, and that's what's important. Oh man, but right now this Nerubian Egg, there's a really good chance that it's going to die to a juggle if it attacks in.
Yep.
And we're going to see, I mean, who knows? Faramir could pull a Reynad, and
so
I
guess
Frezzar
going to attack in. He's going to let it heal. I like that.
Yeah, it's hard to play really slow against the Hunter, though, when he's building up his board and has another high main in his hand.
I definitely feel the Hunter's in a good spot. But the one thing that can happen is if a Hunter does build their board like this, and you do get one of those key lightning storms, you have the ability to clear the small minions from the high main. You have the ability to clear potentially the snakes, but you're taking a significant amount of damage. So the Shaman really needs to figure out what to do right here. And
unfortunately, in this case, he does not draw the answer. He just gets another Nerubian Egg, which is going to help up his board in the long term, but right now he can't think about the long term when there's a Savannah high main facing up against him.
Yep, and here we go. Snakes are coming. Let's see how they end up hitting. This could be insignificant or absolutely brutal.
Oh man. Well, I'm holding my breath.
Okay, that's not good.
He takes out the Nerubian Egg. However, the healing healing totem will be able to attack in. So, not the worst possible. I mean, it was
pretty bad. It's not the worst. It didn't go 3 on the flame tongue.
Oh man, that would have stopped both of them from attacking in. That would have been absolutely insane.
It would have been funny to see the interaction. I've never actually seen that interaction. That they are trying to attack and then stop attacking.
I think the minion does attack for 0 damage.
Wow.
I think we've seen that mechanic before where the buffing minion dies and the minion hits for 0.
A huffer. Like, just to add insult to injury here.
Oh man, rolling Huffer here. Would have been much better to get Leok, but at this point, he's not going to be angry about his chances.
It's just a don't want Misha kind of board.
Yeah, that's for sure. I think that Leok would have been absolutely lethal.
This is
with
so
how many minions he had.
Gonna finish off with face. He's gonna hero power. The Shaman's down to 6, and this is all but over.
I think he's checking to see if he missed lethal because he had no idea how much damage he had.
Yeah, he is checking to see if he missed lethal. It's going to be over. And we do get an Alakir of the Wind Lords coming on down, and that's going to keep him alive for a little bit longer. Not much, though.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really nice way to stop the Savannah High main for a turn. But after that, what are you gonna do? You don't have another lightning storm. You really, really needed to draw that lightning storm earlier.
Yeah. That's after that is you GG, throw in a little BM, and move on to the next one.
Yeah, I think that's true. I also really, really think that Frezzar missed the evil there.
I'm sure he did.
There were too many for us to count that quickly, but oh man, Bloodlust!
Oh!
This is why Bloodlust is the best card in the game, friends.
Yeah, exactly.
Ouch. It can hurt you like that. So, Hunter evens up the series, and now we get to see the response from Faramir. He could counter it in the mirror, but I really don't expect to see that. I think it's going to be the...
As we can see here, guys, that warrior is running a Baron Geddon. What do you think about that?
Baron Geddon's so great in this matchup. The ability to clear the board is just phenomenal. It definitely stinks that you deal 2 damage to yourself. You're kind of helping the hunter there. But there's also a really good chance that, you know, you could clear the Savannah Highmane and then play Baron Geddon to deal with those 2 hyenas. What really is going to be a thorn in Frezzar's side is this Unleash the Hounds that's going to do almost nothing. The snakes as well are going to die so easily to things like, you know, the Death Spite proc. Something like Companion wouldn't be bad, but he's going to hope for maybe a more aggressive start, trying to get that, you know, the 1 drops out in there. Would have really loved to see the Undertaker, but unfortunately didn't get that in his starting hand. Yeah,
and we see in this Faramir warrior just a Spellbreaker here. No owls, so he's got the Taskmasters. He's favoring the 2 unstable ghouls. What are your thoughts on 2 ghouls versus 2 owls? That seems to be what typically gets swapped out here.
Well, 2 ghouls is amazing against Hunter. That's going to be so great to stop the Unleash the Hounds, anything from a Haunted Creeper, and really any 2 health minion. If they attack in, they will die to that Whirlwind after.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, this hand from Faramir is pretty rough, though. Oh, he draws the perfect card. That's phenomenal, because the rest of his hand was so bad. He can armor up Shield Slam, but getting the Buttfire Axe there, I mean, was probably the difference between winning and losing in the long run.
I think you're absolutely right. That might be the top deck that gives Faramir the ability to take this game. We're going to see the Mad Scientist come down. Really, the only other option would be a Leper Gnome, so there's just no reason to do that. The Scientist coming down is going to die immediately. Okay, so we're going to see probably... He's looking like he was going to Hero Power. So we're going to see that Armor Up, Shield Slam. He wants to save his armor, first off. Second off, he wants to save the 1 durability on that weapon, which is really nice. I like it. Really strong start. That armor's going to get chipped away, though, by that Hero Power. And again, back to 4 mana. He can clear this Leper Gnome, and then he can play, he can armor up and play the Unstable Ghoul. I kind of like that play, because he's going to proc that Snake Trap. So here we go, Snake Trap proc.
You know what, I think this is the play, like this is the reason why he did the Shield Slam. He knew that there was a 66% chance of Snake Trap being drawn by that Mad Scientist, and then he would have the axe to proc the snakes the next turn, so that he could counter it with the Unstable Ghoul, because he had all that in his hand.
Yep.
If he had used his axe on the Mad Scientist, then he might have been facing those snakes much later when he didn't have the perfect answer. However, this Owl is going to be such a nice draw to keep that Whirlwind effect from clearing Frezzar's board.
Yeah, really good move from Frezzar. That Owl bringing down the Juggler, getting even 1 hit on that 1/2. He's in a much better spot. We're going to probably see that Death Spite, since it is in hand and he did draw into it. Coming down, yep, and okay, interesting that he traded the Owl there. That Owl was gonna die to the Death Rattle there, so I guess he's just trying to save himself. Yeah, no, actually, I don't know why he traded that. Why do you think he traded that Owl?
It's because of the 2 damage. If you let the Owl attack in you just so you can kill it with the Whirlwind, then he would be at 9 health. And he would still be able to take it out, but at this point, you really have to value your health, even if you don't get the absolute card value.
But see, now the 2 damage comes down anyway.
No.
Yeah, so in the previous case, he hit it and it died. In this...
Oh, Frezzar wouldn't have traded.
Right, okay.
Yeah, there's no way Frezzar would have traded. You might have been able to keep around a 1/1 afterward. But at this point, just getting that kind of value isn't nearly as important when your health is low.
Yeah.
And with Frezzar throwing down the Loatheb, that's actually going to be almost game. He doesn't have exact lethal. He's going to be one off of lethal this turn, unless he draws into a single point of damage.
Kill command.
Oh, there it is. That is more than a single point of damage, and so that is the game for Frezzar. Just a terrible job from Faramir. His opening hand was Ragnaros double shield slam. He didn't get those shield blocks until it was too late, and that's actually not a matchup that we've seen too much over the past few weeks.
I know, let's savor it.
Yes. Yeah, a lot of Hunter bans, which was the big reason, but I think here, I would assume that it was Warlock was priority ban 1, and then Hunter was 2 immediately after. Getting Web Spinner and Leper Gnome in his starting hand is really, really nice here from Faramir. And Frezzar's hand is actually going to be looking really heavy. Oh my goodness, Sludge Belcher and Loatheb. Very weak. Now, Sludge Belcher is actually a card that can really help with the matchup. Because of its ability to soak up so many attacks from small minions. And Undertaker here is going to be absolutely useless since you have no death battles to buff it up, and it can be taken out immediately by the Leper Gnome.
God, yeah, that's such a bad... I mean, do you hero power here? And then... Oh my god, I think you have to play it, unfortunately.
Oh man, you just play it as a Goldshire Footman. Ouch, it's gotta hurt so bad.
It's a dead Goldshire Footman. Dead in the fact that it's an Undertaker, and dead in the fact that this Leper Gnome's about to kill it.
Yeah, in his previous life, he was a Goldshire Footman.
Mm-hmm.
He has been resurrected by the Scourge, and is now going to fall to Nomergon. And now, I mean, with 2 really, really slow hands, this game is not quite as exciting as a 100%er should be.
When it is this slow, what really is the thing that matters most, would you say? I mean, we see a Hunter's Mark in here. That's going to be important because you're really going to bring out 1 minion at a time, and the Hunter's Mark's going to allow Faramir to deal with those big, or at least one of those big minions. What do you think is a critical element to a slower Hunter game like this, if you were to guess?
You know, at this point it's so hard to see because these 2 decks are so kind of bizarre. I mean, that's a Stranglethorn Tiger that wasn't from a Web Spinner. That was in his deck.
Correct.
He's carrying a Stranglethorn Tiger, which is going to be really, really strong up against something like a Loatheb or a Sludge Belcher, especially. I think it's really just whoever can play the minions on curve is going to take it. And right now we're going to see a turn where Frezzar cannot play effectively on curve.
He can, though, almost on curve. He got an Animal Companion, so he can flare into Animal Companion. That was a nice little pick.
I don't think he's going to flare if there's no secret up.
Yeah, so then he can just Animal Companion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think and at this point, if you're just Animal Companioning on turn 4, then your opponent is going to have an even better response when they can just trade away immediately. He's going to be able to send a Web Spinner here and hopefully get a beast he can play out. He doesn't, but that's going to be pretty strong later on to kill an enemy beast for free.
And just a little bit of tech here about Faramir's Hunter. He's also running a Black Knight.
Okay. He's got some really effective ways to take out the Sludge Belcher.
Yeah. Yeah. All right.
I think this turn we have to see Sludge Belcher. I mean, Loatheb wouldn't be the worst. It can be taken out by both minions, though. And then if your opponent countered with a minion of his own, then Loatheb wouldn't really accomplish anything.
Yeah. God, what if Loatheb was a beast and you Hound mastered it?
I've seen enough games where Loatheb was a beast. Oh man, there's the Kodo value.
Wow. All right, 6 drop. So still okay. Probably not Belcher now. Yeah. I mean, he's gonna basically continue to slow his opponent down, unless there's an effective way of killing. Yeah, I think right now in the way the hand works out, he can hope to get lucky here on this Animal Companion drop. He can drop the Juggler and then an Animal Companion.
Ooh, Leok's even better. That just lets you trade it in. It gives you the 5 attack, and you have a taunted up Magma Rager you can send into this Sludge Belcher, and now your board is looking so strong, and your opponent's on 19 health.
Yeah.
You're in an amazing spot. When you're 10 health above your opponent, you have the board, and your hand's not looking bad either. Your opponent has more cards, but it's mostly because he hasn't been able to play them. Yeah,
and we do see a Huffer, and that can get Hound Mastered, which we see coming down here, and then it's going to trade into that Leok, not just killing it, but keeping his taunted minion alive. God, if Black Knight comes into his hand, Faramir's going to be so happy.
Oh
Not that
yeah,
it really matters. He's kind of got this almost locked up, I feel like.
yeah. He really would have liked to play a couple of minions to hopefully get the juggles on Misha, but he's gonna have to settle for a Savannah high main.
Aw.
Yeah, yeah, real sad day. And
Gets
he
a
has
good
the chance
juggle.
to take out both these minions. The only issue is if you take them both out and your opponent plays a freezing trap, then that Savannah high main is going to be kicked right back to your hand,
Yeah.
which is kind of Frezzar's only saving grace at this point.
So, uses the knife juggler, goes to face with the Kodo, putting the onus and all of the pressure on Frezzar, who draws his own Savannah high main.
Oh, this could be a really strong turn. So you trade in, you play your own Savannah high main, and you play a freezing trap.
That could
And-
really, yeah. That
Yeah,
could
now
do-
things are looking much better.
That could do wonders. Oh, he's gonna play Lothab. I like that even better because the Lothab prevents a kill command, or it makes it. What does it make a kill command? Yeah, it should prevent it. Yeah, it would be
Kill command would cost 8 mana,
With 8,
so
so
you
we
could
could-
play
okay.
it. Your entire turn would be kill commanding,
okay.
which would be pretty rough.
And we're gonna see another high main. That's a pretty good response to Lothab here.
Yeah, the only issue is he just still doesn't have a card that can proc that freezing trap. I don't understand why he didn't attack with the other high main in this case, because now you have 2 high mains that can't attack.
He also has flare, by the way.
Oh,
He
that's why he didn't attack.
Because he's gonna flare next turn, double high main and hero power to win.
Yes, that was why. The flare was just a card that I looked over because it's never a card that I've ever had in a useful situation against a trap. It is quite elusive unless, it's turn 8 and my opponent is a shaman. Oh man, this is like the most or the heaviest minions I've ever seen in a hunter versus hunter matchup. But this is actually going to be it with the flare.
Yeah, looks like Faramir are gonna take this match 3-1.
Oh, he drew the kill command as well, so he would have had more than enough damage.
Oh no, excuse me, Faramir going to tie it up. My apologies, gentlemen. And on that note, guys, let me get us here.
Incredibly interesting. I'm not sure we've seen too much of the priest's first ban in
Yeah.
this invitational.
Mostly because of his lineup. You can see a lot of decks that don't do very well versus Priest.
Yeah, that's very true here. Especially if that were a zoo on the
Yeah.
warlock, then priest could have swept him.
Yeah, and it was.
Either of these players, really.
And it was a zoo, by the way, which got
okay.
banned.
Oh well, definitely a bullet dodge in not facing up against the priest at all. This is a much better starting hand here. You have the earlier minions that can trade up. However, this is like the first time I think we're seeing a turn 1 Undertaker from the Hunter, so we've been able to dodge the bullet thus far. However, there's no immediate death rattle to follow it up.
Bring out your dead.
Go ahead, I'm going to take care of something real quick here from the production end.
Yeah, totally. So we will see the Armor Smith go up, immediately responding, hoping to attack in twice. However, the Mad Scientist draw is going to keep this Undertaker from being taken out too easily. And now, Frezzar doesn't have an easy answer. He really would like to draw a Fiery War Axe, because nothing on the board can deal with it. He actually could attack it with Armor Smith and execute here.
Strike.
It's just going to be so hard to deal with that Undertaker anyway. That is going to be the play we see. So, he's got his 1-2 Armor Smith, which can be taken out pretty easily. Not the worst start, but it could have been a lot better if he had seen something like a Fiery War Axe on that turn.
Even a fireworks, though, won't guarantee a victory, as we have just recently seen.
Yeah, that's absolutely true in this case. Warrior can fare so well against Hunter, or at least it did against the older Hunter, but now that Hunter is kind of maybe slowed down a little bit, brought out some of the larger minions, even bringing in things like Stranglethorn Tiger and Loetheb. It's a lot harder to deal with their threats, because if you use a bigger threat, or a bigger removal like an Execute early on, then you don't have a very effective way to remove those large minions.
Yeah. Sorry, guys, I think I did not have my Skype on Do Not Disturb, which I typically do in the Invitational, so that all the messages I'm getting are not getting put on stream. So I think you guys have been hearing little Skype beeps. So I've turned that on.
Oh, you're that person.
Yeah, I am that guy. Sorry about that.
Oh man, that's
Wow.
such a strong Houndmaster. Look at this 4-6 with taunt. What
God
do you do
doesn't-
against it?
He needs execute. He really needs execute, and it's not going to be able to. I mean, I guess at this point, wow. I don't even know what you do here.
Yeah, it's really too bad that he had to use that execute earlier on because there's just no way for him to deal that amount of damage unless he attacks in twice with the Fire War Axe. But that's 12 damage he's taking from the Leok plus whatever attack buffs he's giving. And we can see that's going to be quite a bit. We have a couple of Leper Gnomes that could come out here, which won't be answered by a whirlwind type effect of any sort.
What's that trap again?
I did not see it come in. It came off of the Mad Scientist.
Yeah. Okay,
And
cool.
so
No worries.
if
Nice.
Faramir helpfully mouses over it, then I will be able to tell you.
So the War Axe armor, I mean, God. I guess you could War Axe and then Armor Smith, and then you could Taskmaster the Armor Smith next turn, preventing some additional damage. I mean, I don't know. Looks like he's gonna Hail Mary, shield block, gets a Spellbreaker, and that Hail Mary will not pay off.
Yeah, even if it was a shield slam, it wouldn't have been enough to take out the Leok. He would have had to go for it because he would have lost the armor.
Yep.
But, I mean, just look at this board. How do you come back from this unless you get a Brawl? I think Brawl's kind of the only way to go here.
Yep. Yeah, Brawl would have been an okay pickup over the Spellbreaker as well, and they're not ideal. We see a Lothep. That is not going to do it. I think that Frezzar's just going to go down here to this Hunter.
Yeah, if you do Lothep, I think it prevents lethal. It would prevent lethal, but
I know,
he's not going to be thinking to Lothep. I think he's going to go for a shield block, armor up. Or I guess shield block and Cruel Taskmaster would prevent the most amount of damage.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Like, this is just such a brutal position to be in here.
You can come back if you shield block into either execute or shield slam.
Yes. But you can't play the execute.
You would Cruel Taskmaster. Oh, I thought he had 6 mana.
Your 1 mana
Oh,
shot. So
man.
he gets 5. So he's going to get rid of the Houndmaster, which helps. Definitely helps. So here it comes down. That's 5 less damage he'll take this turn. And he's keeping himself alive, albeit barely. We see Hero Power, a series of minions coming in here, I'm assuming. Yep. Here it all comes. It's flooding in. And I'd love to describe how Frezzar could come back, but I think even a Brawl at this point wouldn't do it.
Right. What would be pretty bad is if he could remove this Leok, then Kill Command wouldn't be quite good enough. So if you can Brawl and... Yeah, at this point it's just not going to be enough. And so we are going to see Frezzar going down.
Yeah. Yep.
Let's see, is this... Might not actually be lethal yet.
No, it's not yet. But there's a Kill Command in hand. So 5.
He does choose to go for the Leper Gnome, which...
It's 13. That's 13.
Oh, double Kill Command as well.
He had it without it, though.
Oh, okay. Well,
Because
now
the
it's
Leper
super
Gnome
overkill.
damage.
You know how hard math is sometimes?
Yeah.
You know how there's
I
some
feel ya.
days where you're just like, counting? That's that's kind of like today. Does he go for the double Kill Command? Overkill? No. He finishes him off with the Death Rattle from the Leper Gnome.
Ooh.
That is also a pretty good BM.
Solid BM. I'll give him an 8 out of 10 on that. Guys, that is our best of 5. Faramir holding the line for DKMR. And a mage and Powder bringing in a
You
priest.
asked for it.
So we're seeing the open up of the Value Secrets Mage, not the Freeze Mage that we got to see last week in the Invitational. We can tell it's going to be the Value Mage, of course, with things like the Kirin Tor Mage and the Mirror Entity. This is a pretty good curve so far. Getting the Mirror Entity out early on is really going to help with your board advantage if you're able to copy a strong minion coming out from Priest. It does counter things like Injured Blade Master because the Blade Master is healed as well by the Circle of Healing. It can also copy things, some of the stronger minions that come out in the mid to late game. like Dark Cultist, like Akanai Soul Priest, like Sludge Belcher, from what we can see in this hand. And those are a lot of minions that Faramir would love to have in his own hand. So now we're going to see the Kirin Mage into the Mirror Entity. He has a 3/3 Mana Worm as well. This is such a good opening from Faramir. We are going to get the layout changed in just 1 second, but already we can see such a strong opening from this deck. He is copied here. The Dark Cultist going over to Faramir, and look at this board. There's so much attack power and health on it. At this point...
Okay, so go ahead, please continue.
Yeah, Faramir's board is just absolutely incredible. He chooses to keep his minions alive since he knows that priests tend to have a pretty difficult time dealing 1 point of damage. So instead of trading in the Kirin Mage, he just uses his hero power. He doesn't build up his board any farther because that could be pretty weak to the Akanai Circle combo.
Okay. Water Elemental's opponent with a Shadow Word Death. Is that Death or Pain? Looks like Death.
It's Death.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Water Elemental's going to be strong here. We don't see Shadow Word Pain all too much. Much more replaced by something like Shadow Madness, which would be strong for counter, but he just doesn't have it in his hand. And oh, the health going over to the Mana Worm. That is one powerful Mana Worm, and it's going to keep getting stronger as soon as Faramir gets some spells.
Yeah.
We would really need to see a circle coming out from Powder in the next 2 turns to get this board back in his favor. Oh, there it is. So if he does lose his Sludge Belcher and Powder still has a few minions on the board, and that's what we're going to see. We're going to see the Akanai Hero Power and Circle combo to clear everything.
Yeah.
For Dalaran.
If we see the counterspell here, that'll actually be a really, really nice response from Faramir, or I guess predictive play here. That does keep his board safe from the combo, so now we can afford to build up his board a little bit larger, and
it
counter
also
that
scares him from playing a minion, but he is going to play that Akanai out of fear. He won't be able to play the circle this turn. Interesting. Really nice play here. Countering each other tit for tat.
Yeah, and now I think he's probably going to use the Thought Seal to proc the counter spell since he knows it's likely what it is. However, it is interesting to note that he is down to 9 health without the ability to heal himself. And so what he could do is Thought Seal to proc the counter spell, then you attack in with your Akanai and circle. Then you can heal yourself afterward, because I feel like he probably needs the extra health at this point, or else you lose to something like Fireball Frostbolt.
Yep, and this will clear everything, including the Akanai. And we get another counter spell.
Alright, so at this point Counterspell isn't going to be doing too much. However, you can just continue to draw cards, build up your board, because it's not going to be too hard to finish off your opponent. Ragnaros is going to be a really, really strong way to get in the finishing blow.
What do you think is the key in this matchup here, Mage versus Priest? Other than the tempo that the Mage has already sort of gotten, and the Akanai Circle here. For the
Priest needs the Akanai Circle earlier than that. If you can't get it until turn 6, or turn 7 in this case, because you're just going to lose so much board presence. And a Mage who gets out such a great curve.
Ooh, wow. He almost... Yeah, I mean, that's not bad, but you could have brought your opponent almost to lethal if it hit face there. Shadow Word Death on that gets counterspelled. That's brutal.
Oh, double Shadow Word Death.
And here, yep.
Is it pretty... oh, wait, no, we didn't have it.
One.
Oh,
yeah.
There's a little bit of a desync between the hand and the board, and so I thought he played the second one afterward.
Here with IhearthU's Faramir against IhearthU's Powder, and we see a warrior coming out for Powder, trying to attempt to counter this Mage of Faramir's.
This is not quite the best matchup, but as long as Warrior can drag it out, one issue that this kind of Mage has is a lack of card draw. So if they don't get off a really important duplicate on a strong minion, or they just don't get a good curve at all, then Warrior's going to be able to survive into the late game. One, they have the huge plays that can finish the game pretty quickly and swing it in their favor.
Looks like that overlay bug that happened in the last game with the Mulligans didn't happen this game.
Phew. Yeah, the Mulligans didn't stay up for the first couple turns.
Good thing
really
there.
nice catch.
Here we go, guys. Here we go. There's going to go face here for 2. And yeah, it's going to put some of the onus here on the warrior to get a decent start. But he's got all the cards he needs to do it. He's got an armor smith. He could have even coined out an acolyte, but I think the armor smith is fine here. And he's got 2 unstable ghouls in his hands.
Coining out an acolyte would have been awful from what we know, because Faramir could have simply just frost bolted it. In this case, however, being able to play a 4-3 to counter a 1-4 is really strong. The Coin Despite will be a nice way to get this war control, and these are the ways that Warrior can, can try to kind of stem the bleeding, is just getting out these early minions that can attack in, as well as the early weapons to remove your opponent's board.
And that Frostbolt will kill off that Armor Smith, but that Kirin Tor Mage didn't get a secret, so it lost a significant amount of the value that you expect from that card.
Very true. Yeah, that Kirin Tor Mage was not nearly the player it needs to be in this matchup. And now look at how heavy Faramir's hand is. Even though he can make a play every turn, he's not going to be able to make the incredibly value plays that we like to see from Mage, like when we see a Kirin Tor bringing out a secret, or when we see a larger minion duplicated.
And we're going to see a Sludge Belcher here. And with 5 mana, we could see a shield block, we could see a counter, we could see the Unstable Ghoul and an Armor Smith, which is nice, and there it comes down.
Yeah, this is such a great board to have right now. Up against this mage, there's no way they can clear it effectively until turn 7 if they have a Flame Strike. But not all of these decks run one, or if they do, they only have a single copy. And now being able to draw and gain armor off of the Unstable Ghoul is going to really put you in the position that you need to win the game. This is exactly what Warrior needs. And it's not in the bag yet, but it's the best position he could hope for.
Yeah, it's a really, really good start for Powder, and I'm sure he's feeling confident, and he's got so many low-cost cards that he can kind of pick apart Faramir's board however he chooses.
Yeah, at this point, he has some really great responses. He also has some really strong later plays. Sylvanas will be an excellent response to Ragnaros. Since he doesn't have something like Execute to take it out, he also has the potential to play down Sylvanas and then Brawl in a future turn. Which is an amazing combination, because if your opponent manages to win it, then you get their minion.
And I do like, gets a Black Knight, which will deal with that Unstable Ghoul. I was going to say, I do like the Unstable Ghoul in that it will allow you to clear Sylvanas. He can still do it. He can use his Axe plus the Armor Smith, clearing Sylvanas, giving his opponent no cards, which is nice, is what you're looking for when you're trying to deal with Sylvanas. And then he can play down 7 mana worth of minions if he chooses.
I'm curious why he said that it was an error, though.
Yeah, I am too.
Oh, you know why? It's because he should have attacked with his hero first, and then he could have gained the 1 armor off of the Armor Smith. He could have been 15 health with 1 armor as opposed to 16 health. And it's just generally better to have armor over health. Very, very small mistake.
Absolutely. 1 armor there. When you're playing at the pro level, you do want to catch all these little things, but certainly not a mistake that could change the game.
Yeah, unless he has, a shield slam that is 1 damage too little.
It's possible. Unlikely at this point in the game, but it's possible.
Yeah. Even if Alexstrasza comes down, if he does fall that low, then the armor wouldn't have mattered anyway. So it is unlikely that it will come to play. This Cruel Taskmaster taking out the 4/1 Black Knight going to be really strong. And then there's the Sylvanas to answer whatever play comes out. Oh, Polymorph is perfect.
Yeah, that Polymorph coming down to counter that Sylvanas is really not much better to Polymorph. Well, that's not true. There's plenty to Polymorph in this deck, but that's a really nice tempo play.
Yeah. I mean, everything else you can kill, but Sylvanas is the thing that you like to kill the least. And so, if he does play down a 8 health Alexstrasza, you could counter it with Ragnaros or Fireball, whereas that
So the shield block gets countered, but it does draw a card. And it draws another shield block.
It shouldn't have drawn it? I feel like it shouldn't have drawn the card.
I feel like it shouldn't have either, but I'm pretty sure I saw that get drawn. I'm pretty sure I saw it get drawn. I might have been my mistake, but...
Okay. And it could have been... That would be very, very odd if it drew the card there.
Was there something else that could have drawn the card on the board? Was there an Acolyte on the board? No, right?
Mm-mm.
I don't know. That's what I saw, but only the gods know at this point.
Yeah, I'm just looking at this warrior get absolutely trounced. He had what felt like the best possible position up against this mage. And now he's at 10 health, and his opponent is at 29. He just gave him a 5-4 because that was the smallest minion he could have. Now he has the brawl, and he's going to be hoping that his Harrison comes out on top. Oh, it's the Ragnaros.
Oh.
And that is GG.
That is GG, and I got a little touch of lag there, and it's all gone now. Clean that up. We'll get that sorted after this game. And that is, in fact, GG. Faramir's mage taking out this warrior, and that is the game. I'm going to restart those guys in a moment. But that will be a 2-0 at this point for Faramir.
Yeah, 2-0 is a really, really nice lead. Because so, has such little effect for minions in general. Things like Mirror Entity are nearly as strong. And so Rogue has a pretty strong chance in this matchup. However, the double Mana Worm, this is going to be an insane start.
Oh,
Yes.
God.
Hello.
Hello. Okay, Faramir's feeling good. He throws out a hello, which is telling not just us, but telling Powder that you're going to have to deal with something a little scary early. And I believe we're going to see Mana Worm, coin Mana Worm. Best play of the day for this mage. Best start of the day for this mage.
This is 3 games in a row that he's had a turn 1 Mana Worm. And,
Hello.
man, you just...
Another
The only-
hello.
better start is if you were a rogue and, you know, had a prep to combo with it. Because that is just ridiculous.
And again, even if Faramir was to lose with this mage, it's done its work. So not only is he okay with this start, he's okay with completely losing this game.
It's very, very true. This is not the crucial game. However, with a start like this, this could be the game that locks up the series for you.
Yeah.
Because having a absolutely perfect curve is going to help. If he throws in the Mirror Entity and then Powder thinks the only way that he can come back is with a crazy Edwin play, then that could really, really hurt him.
And these Mana Worms are just sticking around. We're going to see a Mirror Entity here. You could see a Counterspell. I was going to say, after an Earthen Ring being played down, Counterspells feels better than Mirror Entity. Plus what you'd be Mirror Entity would be potentially like an SI agent or maybe a Van Cleef.
The potential for Mirror Editing a Van Cleef would be tremendous, though. And now he's going to be able to get down an uncontested Van Cleef if he uses prep to get the counterspell, and then he would have had the potential to play down an Edwin Van Cleef. Now I expect we're going to see the Mirror Entity. I think it's a lot more likely in this scenario.
Yep, which will tie in better with the Van Cleef. So should perhaps a Van Cleef have come down, seeing that it was a counterspell, knowing that there's a potential Mirror Entity. Granted, it wouldn't have cleared that one minion, but now there's going to be a potential for a Mirror Entity on a Van Cleef. What are your thoughts?
I think that he's going to go for the Mirror Entity here. I think you know turn 5 is has the potential for a much larger minion.
But he didn't. He went for the hero power.
Yeah, that's pretty surprising, huh?
Huh. We're gonna see.
Nothing but a hero power. But now with the likely conceal to keep that
The Brotherhood
keep that board safe.
Wow.
That is crazy. From
God,
the
he needed that 6/6 Van Cleef Mirror
Well
Entity.
played.
Yep.
that's why I feel like not playing the Mirror Entity there was a bit of a mistake, because
Totally.
you just freed your opponent up to do that, or even the counterspell. The counterspell would have kept that insane combo from happening quite so easily, and now that's gonna be game. I can't see him coming back from this.
It's effectively game. We don't have lethal at the moment. We have an eviscerate in hand. We have a 6/6, a 7/3, and another Sludge Belcher is gonna help, but it's not gonna do it.
There's a few cards that would definitely be game, like Cold Blood.
Yep, that'll do it.
Yeah, you just Cold Blood up your SI7, then you Eviscerate, Hero Power, you attack him with Van Cleef, and then you have 9 damage, swinging into the face, and that is the Rogue coming back
Well played.
and putting a point on his board, and most importantly, stopping Faramir's Mage in its tracks, because that momentum the Mage is bringing into the series was incredible.
Booyah! And that is a 2-1 now. Powder coming back, as you just mentioned. Let's take a quick look at those decks. And we can see here that Faramir coming out with that
I must
Druid.
protect the wild.
Yep, and
Alexstrasza Druid.
ooh, we've seen that a little bit more recently. It's a really great way to set up for something like a Force of Nature Savage Roar, as long as you can deal 1 extra damage, because of course that combo only deals 14. It's also a great way to heal yourself if you are up against a more aggressive deck. Something like Miracle Rogue can run out of damage eventually if you do take out the minions with the Cold Blood on it, and something like an Alexstrasza to heal yourself back up and keep yourself out of range of the Rogue could definitely swing the game in your favor.
Certainly.
Pretty slow starts from both of these. I mean, this is one of the worst Druid starts possible. Oh, getting Shade and Extremis was incredible. Even though it's not on curve, he just needed to throw something on the board. He didn't get an Innervate or a Wild Growth. And so things were looking pretty bleak. And now we're just going to see an SI7 agent make it on the board up against the 3-3 to challenge it. Sludge Belcher on curve is going to be a really nice response as well. However, there are quite a few spells there to remove it. Do you think he's going to coin Gadgetzan here, or is he going to say, oh no, he's going for it?
Yeah, coin Gadgetzan backstab. I mean, we've seen a variety. It gets a prep into a sap.
Yeah, he actually had both preps in his hand, and so...
I'm sorry, he has a prep into a sap. That's what I meant. Gets that sap.
He actually goes for the Eviscerate in this case because he wants to remove it entirely. He has another prep. He could Shiv and then Hero Power to remove this slime.
Wow.
And he's now drawn through about half of this deck.
We do see that Shiv come down. We will see the Hero Power finish off the Sludge, the 3-3 into the face. That's a very nice start to the Miracle.
That was 6 cards drawn on turn 4. Pretty insane play. Swipe will be necessary to remove that Gadgetzan Auctioneer, but in this point you gotta be afraid of how many cards that rogue just drew.
Yeah, be very afraid.
Now Rogue has the chance to Shiv, Fan of Knives, or Hero Power to remove that. He can heal himself and play minion as well. I mean, that's why drawing those cards are so important, because look at the options that Powder has to remove and deal with Faramir's board.
Yeah, and it looks like he is going to use face, heal up with the Earthen Ring to get some value off of it, and just then Hero Power up. And we see Harrison coming down as a tempo play here, getting rid of that. And costing his opponent 2 mana, drawing 2 cards, and we're going to see a Wild Growth. Interesting.
Yeah, I think that's the latest Wild Growth I've ever seen that wasn't saved for turn 10.
Yep.
I mean, a turn 7 Wild Growth is just going to give him 2 turns with a mana advantage. Pretty low overall. And now your opponent is free to deadly poison up his weapon, knowing that there's no Harrison Jones that's going to be able to take it out. He does attack with it once, and so he won't have the 2 durability on it, but he would be safe to at this point.
Yeah, it seemed like he was both trying to... it seemed like he was trying to get the card draw out of it more than anything, and I think that's... You know, it's an interesting maneuver. He's going to draw 2 cards here with this Ancient of Lore, and he can innervate out a Yeti if he so chooses, and he does. I like it. I like it. He's at 25 health. He's got a strong board. But
the Thalnos and Blade Flurry or Fan of Knives going to be able to clear this.
The boss mage Thalnos.
Oh man, look at that. So that's going to give him even a little bit of overkill there. But deal with that board so effectively. He has a board. His opponent's at 15 health. He also has a Cold Blood in hand and Leroy Jenkins. I don't think there's any way Druid can save himself here.
Lothar Belcher, I mean, getting that extra mana will allow him to play this out. He wouldn't have if he had not Wild Growth, and this will prevent a lot of spells from coming down. Pretty much almost any spell, but potentially just Cold Blood. He could 7 mana Sap and go face here. Not bad.
Yeah, you know, Lothar was the best possible minion to have entirely. You also could Shiv for 2 and then clear out the Sludge Belcher. The only issue with sapping it this turn is if he replays it, then you don't you don't have a way to take care of it, and you can't swing in with your Leroy.
And you're in a good spot here. You're at 21 health. I guess a combo could potentially kill you, so you have to be wary of that, even though we know we don't see it in hand here. Could Druid Savage Roar do it? Yeah, it could. 9, 12, 20.
Yeah, he definitely has to get rid of the board.
It would be 20 damage. So if he didn't clear the board, it would be, I believe, 20 damage. So it would be 1 shy. But yeah, you do want to start to clear up this board.
Yeah, you take care of the Sludge Belcher, Loatheb can survive. It is actually pretty crazy that even with such a good draw from the Druid, or from the Rogue, you still could lose to the combo. And so he actually plays it as safe as possible. And even though we know there wasn't a Force of Nature there, he plays on every possibility and so clears out both those minions.
Yeah.
Wow, I mean, things were looking so rough for the Druid up until this point. But now he has 2 huge taunts. That's 1 sap down. Leroy can't get through anything.
Right.
You just really have to hope you get some nice draws from this Gadget and Auctioneer, because that's going to be your last chance here.
And he gets a Conceal to start. So he's going to get at least Gadgetzan, Shiv, Cold Blood, Conceal. So that's a significant amount of card draw here. We're going to see a Shiv first, though. So he doesn't want to overdraw, it looks like, perhaps. Otherwise, I'm expecting he would have played the Gadgetzan first.
Or he wants to play the Loatheb to prevent the combo coming out.
Yep.
And so he could just Shiv and Loatheb.
That's a pretty good play.
Oh, if Loatheb doesn't die this turn, he could, and it won't because of the Conceal, he could Shadow Step the Loatheb in the future.
That's actually really nice. Shadow Step Loatheb, but you also have to start clearing the board. You can't just Shadow Step Loatheb forever with 7 points of damage on board.
That's very true. Oh, he heals himself, and now these 2 huge taunts and the 19 effective health are going to put Faramir in a fantastic position for this game.
And that's a clear sign that he's planning to use Alexstrasza defensively if he ever gets below maybe 9 health. Because he could have Alexstrasza there down to 15 and then continue to use the minions to attack. So we're going to see now Gadgetzan, Bad Stats, Sap.
You can send in Loatheb to clear this out, and then Shadow Step Loatheb and replay him for 3 mana.
Wow.
That's what we see.
Really nice. Loatheb down to 1 health. He will get replayed. Back up, preventing any kind of shenanigans with spells, although there's not much to do here but Wrath.
What's I think the funniest part is he's been so solid with these Loatheb plays that haven't actually saved him from anything.
I know. Great plays, though. I mean, getting a 5-1 back up to 5-5, nothing wrong with that. And it has limited the maneuverability of Faramir here. Not in the way that he's intending, but 8 cost Savage Roar, not exactly ideal. I mean, what do you think about Keeper and Belcher? Keeper to silence the Gadgetzan. I guess you could just kill the Gadgetzan, so that makes no sense with the 5-5. Maybe,
I would say just Hero Power Belcher, and then send your 5-5 into the Gadgetzan.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you definitely could, if you wanted to take off the most potential damage, then you would go with your play of silencing the Gadgetzan and then killing the Loatheb.
Yeah.
However, this game puts you in a spot to come back, whereas that play mostly just keeps you alive for a turn.
And putting 2 dammer with the Keeper on the Loatheb will ensure it dies to the Belcher unless the Belcher gets dealt with.
Okay, that's nice. It's pretty hopeful, pretty optimistic play, but I think it's actually going to pay off for him pretty well because that was the best way for Powder to remove the Sludge Belcher.
Mm-hmm. Oh, he's going to have a 5 damage Eviscerate.
But he's thinking about using it on the Ancient of Lore here, so the spell damage wouldn't quite help him out. However, he can Eviscerate and then follow it up with an Edwin Van Cleef for the 6/6, which is going to be really, really strong.
Wow. Yep, that is what he does. And we shall see how this does end up happening. Big Game Hunter. Wow, Edwin just out of range of that.
So close. Alexstrasza can't be played here because it would either heal your opponent or hurt yourself. I wouldn't be surprised to see a Wrath for draw at this point.
Yeah, I like a Wrath for draw.
If you go for Savage or Hero Power, you can deal 10 damage this turn. Just in case anyone was curious. So if you Wrath into a swipe, that would be game.
Ooh, yeah.
That would be exactly 13 damage with the mana you would have remaining.
So I guess you Wrath the Edwin, getting it down to 5. Maybe the Drake. Let's see how he plays
If you
this
Wrath...
out.
Well, actually... This could be pretty rough for Faramir, because we see a Cold Blood and a Deadly Poison and a Leroy. He's got one taunt to keep him alive. He has to keep that taunt out. I feel... Actually...
Wrath is the Van Cleef, gets a Keeper of the Grove.
Ooh, silencing the Van Cleef. Oh man, that draw saved him. That was such a perfect top deck.
Yep.
You can silence a Van Cleef, then take it out with your other keeper, and you've got one taunt protecting you.
I'm almost out of cards.
But that one taunt will go down to the Drake, and we could see a Cold Blood on Leroy.
He can... Oh, with the other Cold Blood, he
Oh
can
my
deal
God.
17 damage, but Faramir's at 20 health. If you go for Leroy, weapon, double, Cold Blood,
Attention,
and
class.
Deadly Poison, which would be all 10 of your mana, you could deal 17.
We see that Deadly Poison come down.
I'm ready to learn.
It's going to clear off that 1-2. He does not Deadly Poison yet. He's going to save it. He's going to save it for lethal. And,
Or Cold Blood.
Sorry, excuse me. He's going to save the Cold Blood for lethal, yes. I'm assuming I said Deadly Poison there.
Yeah, his Deadly Poison was excellent to be able to remove that taunt. And now, is there a way for Faramir to keep himself from dying?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't believe so. I think this is going to be it. So Powder is able to survive for long enough that we actually see exact lethal here, unless there's some more damage drawn by Powder.
A Drake.
Nope. Yes, this is exact lethal. 20 points of damage
Really nice.
coming through, and Powder is able to even up the series now, 2-2. Things were looking so great for him early on. Then Druid managed to stabilize for so many turns, but with enough spells from the Rogue there, eviscerating some of the very key targets, and overall just being able to control the board, he came out with 20 points of damage there.
Really nicely done by here. Powder showing he will not go down without a fight. He's in this best of 7 spot for a reason. He wants to prove he's the stronger player here today. Pride is on the line, and $25 to the winner of this match. And the best of 7 spot for next week. Or for the next event.
If you could leave a best of 7 with $25 or without it, most people would choose with it. So even though it's not the prize of all prizes for these two IhearthU members, it's very solid. And what it means is that next week there's a potential $400 if our guests can win the best of 5 and the best of 7.
Yeah, and if the same applies from Season 2 as it did in Season 1, if one player wins or continues throughout the entire season as the best of 7 player, they can get a that full best of 7 prize pool. But I don't know that would apply this season, or that's something we'll have to look into and give you an update on.
Powder's definitely working his way to earn it. He has been quite a solid player for IhearthU. And he's also been in tournaments recently. That's something I'd really like to see from this team. Even though they were relatively unknown for some time, D2 just went to BlizzCon and took 4th. We've seen Faramir and Powder in recent tournaments as well. And even though some of the other members of IhearthU haven't been as prolific, they're still really solid players. And I'm sure that they're going to be getting their invites rather soon as well.
And every week that these players, 2 of them from IhearthU, are getting to play in this Invitational, they're pairing their skills up against the best that the Open and Invitational tournament scene has to offer, and their own teammates in a tournament where there's money and a position in best of 7 on the line. So this Invitational is a great opportunity for those players to develop their skills under pressure and gain experience. And we see this Azure Drake coming down here for Powder.
Yeah, this Azure Drake is so great to play on turn 5 when you can't get off an amazing Gadget Hand combo like we saw last game. Last game, being able to play it out in turn 4 with both preps in hand was phenomenal, but without a prep, he's going to have to hold on to it for a little bit of time to get the extreme value. The Stranglethorn Tiger is going to contest this 4-4 pretty well. It's also going to be able to remove the Gadget Hand Auctioneer. If it were visible, however, we know that we're going to be able to see a prep. Oh, there's no conceal. I thought Shadow Step was a conceal.
There is.
Sometimes pictures and words, they're hard. Sometimes they're hard. I was a little too focused on the hand there, and so he does have the conceal already, which meant that he had no interest at all in attacking with that Azure Drake. He is very, very afraid of what that secret could potentially be.
Yeah. Yep.
And so, what's he going to do to pop the secret? That's something I always wonder when someone uses what's potentially their least valuable minion, or leaves their least valuable minion without attacking in. I kind of wonder what's on their mind, because if it's Freezing Trap, I feel like you'd rather get your Azure Drake back to your hand than your Gadget Zan.
Yeah. I'm just realizing here that, in fact, I do have a mistake in the overlay for what one of the decks that Faramir submitted, and I've just confirmed with the decks he submitted to me. We'll get into that in a moment. We'll continue with this game. I'm going to update the overlays, and I'll get you an update on that, guys, in a moment.
So right now, with all these spells coming in, he's going to have a really nice way to deal with the board. Another Shiv as well for a potential draw and damage to the face. And now he's going to choose to attack in with the Azure Drake. I'm very curious about why he would attack it now as opposed to last turn. Mm-hmm. The Edwin is probably the strongest play. The issue with Shiv in this case is you would overdraw if you kick something back to your hand as well.
Yeah.
He's actually got to be really worried about how many cards he has in his hand. He can't play any spells for quite some time. You also, in this case, if you if you Shadow Step Gadget Zan, you would burn a card on your next strike. Yeah. So
yes.
I would just go for the Edwin here. I think the Edwin is strong.
The Brotherhood shall come.
That's 8/8, man. That's pretty nice. Putting Faramir in a tricky spot.
Turn things around. I mean, Rogue was in an awful spot on 12 health up against a 7/7 with Taunt. He's able to remove it, draw an insane amount of cards, play an 8/8.
Freezing Trap.
These two Freezing Traps are MVPs for Faramir at the moment. He's trying to push in for enough damage, and he has them on the next turn. Let's see if... Oh no, you can stab it back, you can attack him with Gadget Zan, you can double Cold Blood, and then that's going to be it. So Powder takes 3 games in a row with this Rogue.
Yeah. And guys, this was on me. Players submitted their decks properly, and I had a Warrior up on the deck slot here for Faramir. It was in fact a Shaman. I've confirmed it. I'm looking at the decks he submitted here, and I'll show that to you guys in just a second. So we have the Rogue here taking out the Hunter, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yep, he was just able to remove him because of the sap. He did kick his Gadget Zan back to his hand, and then he had the double Cold Blood for 16 damage off that Edwin. That is an insane amount of damage that we can see this Rogue coming through if there's not enough removal, and without some key answers like Hunter's Mark that Hunter tends to rely on. They just can't deal with that kind of damage on the board. The Conceal play on turn 6 was really what won him the game there. Being able to play the Gadget Zan into Conceal on both his Azure Drake and his Auctioneer set him up for the next couple turns to turn that game around.
Powder just really pushing through strong. Really great play on his part. And let's take a quick look at those updated decks. So as you can see here, guys, I swapped out that Warrior for that Shaman. I had a glitch in my overlay there. So in fact, players did everything correctly here. No issues from their perspective of missubmitted deck list or anything. I've confirmed it. I've checked it with what I got before the Invitational started. Apologize for that mistake on the overlay. And we're going to be getting into potentially our last game here. Faramir has one deck to take down 2 of Powder's. And yeah, we're getting into that in just a moment.
I'm sure we'll forgive you, knowing that there is a Shaman remaining. That will be the last deck that Faramir tries up against this Rogue, which has been able to sweep everything else Faramir brought. And this is really, really strong showing from Powder. He's played this deck incredibly. I can't see a single mistake that he's made with the Rogue. The only thing I've questioned so far is why he didn't pop the freezing trap a little bit earlier. But other than that, everything looks good.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is 3-2 here. Faramir a little bit behind in this best of 7. He needs to take 2 games against Powder. And we can see, of course, that Shaman coming down versus this Rogue. And this Shaman has got an Undertaker. So I believe that we can see here that this is a... Okay, wait for it, guys. This is a Undertaker Zombie Chow Shaman with double Doom Hammer.
Wow.
And Bloodlust.
You know, if he gets off the perfect draws, you know, getting... right now he already has Undertaker and a Haunted Creeper. If he can follow it up with a couple more small minions, maybe a Doomhammer and then Bloodlust on turn 7 or 8 as a finisher, he could take it out. However, if he doesn't draw quite that perfectly, we might see a very, very different game here, since Rogue typically doesn't worry too much about the Shaman's minions and just likes to deal a lot of damage to his face.
Yeah, no, certainly. And we see in this Shaman deck, in addition to the Zombie Chows, we see Flame Tongue Totems. We also have other enablers for the Undertaker, like Haunted Creeper, Nerubian Egg, Harvest Golems. And, you know, we're aware that one of the best cards versus Rogue is that Doomhammer, because it puts a clock on that Rogue. You can continue to hit face over and over and over. And he's got 2 Doomhammers in his deck. So I think this is a good deck for Faramir to take out this Rogue. We see a 4/4 Van Cleef coming down, though.
Yeah, getting that Van Cleef out on turn 2 is really, really strong if it doesn't get removed immediately. If you can attack it a couple of times, then it gets such great value. But if it just trades up against an Undertaker, then it's a little bit too much of an investment. It just slows you down too much. Just attacking with a naked dagger into that Flame Tongue Totem shows how desperate Powder is for an answer. He is going to be able to shiv it and attack it next turn, or play a card, like play a 1-mana spell or a 0-mana spell if he draws it, and as a 7 agent.
We're seeing a Flame Tongue for a Flame Tongue and the Creeper. Significant pressure here, and he knows that he's going to play Doomhammer almost definitely next turn because he's got 2 in hand.
Well, and the most important part was the Taunt Totem that went down. That keeps his Flame Tongue Totem alive. If it hadn't gone down, he could have shivved and attacked in and at least removed one of these minions.
Yeah.
But now he's got no such possibility. We have a Doomhammer already equipped, and if a Bloodlust comes in soon, that is such insane damage.
I think it's almost game already. Forget the Bloodlust. I mean...
9 health.
The Rogue has to usually take damage to the face to clear things, or RSIs and Eviscerates to do it. But at this point, with 9 health on turn 5, going into turn 6, Faramir is not going down without a fight either. I love it. Great games tonight.
Okay, the play he could... So... Powder gives up. The play he could have made is Dex. And we've come down to this. We've seen almost the most number of matches possible tonight. I think we only saw 4 games in the best of 5, as opposed to 5. But I mean, we're seeing 11 out of potential 12 games,
and good games at that. Really strong play. We can remember, guys. These decks will be available up on in the next few days. We get these decks out, and you can kind of mull over the decks, mull over the choices, and look at this event and watch the players and why they made the decisions they did. This is the highest level of pro play there is. I mean, certainly BlizzCon was the pinnacle, but these are players who are training with BlizzCon quarterfinalists, and I know they work as a team, they function as a team. At BlizzCon, they functioned as a team to help D2, and I know, and I'm sure he's helping Faramir and or Powder with their decks, picks, choices, and play styles. So this is the best of the best here at IhearthU playing it out. Really exciting.
Mm-hmm. And something that Poach just reminded me of, I didn't get a chance to see it because I was at work earlier today, but Powder beat Kalento and RDU today in Heroes of Cards number 3.
Wow.
And so coming off of a win against two of the best players in the game, they have two of the highest ratings on the ratings website. Oh man,
it's Gosu.
Gosu Gaming.
Gosu Gamers, yeah.
Sometimes memory things are just so difficult. Yeah, on Gosu Gaming, they have two of the highest rankings, and he's now in an incredible set with his teammate. This is going to be a great day for him.
And we saw that Undertaker get taken out by a silenced Ancient Watcher. We're going to see a Flame Tongue come down to get rid of that Watcher, and the Owl alone will not clear this Flame Tongue. So we're going to have to see something else. At the moment, all he really has is Hero Power, and then, yeah, that's really it. I mean, you could drop the 2-3. It's not a great play. It doesn't really deal with anything on the board. I think we're more likely to see the Spell Power Totem go down here, if anything. But you could... I don't really know what you do here. I kind of like the Twilight Drake there, but... okay, so, yeah, why would you take out the 1-1? You got to take out the Spell Power if you're going to take out something here.
Yeah, or at least the 3-1.
Sure.
I mean, I guess it doesn't. It wouldn't actually.
That wouldn't matter. Yeah, that wouldn't matter. But the Spell Power Totem has other abilities, yeah.
The reason you don't Twilight Drake here is because if he has Earthshock, then
you're far behind.
You basically just lose. If you spend your entire turn playing a card that gets countered by a 1-mana spell, you just can't really come back from that. If you tap and you get the cards that can then compete later on, then you're kind of making an investment to win the game later, as opposed to potentially just losing the game immediately. Yeah. We know that there wasn't an Earthshock and that it was his best play, but of course he couldn't know that. And he just, from what we've seen in Powder's play today, he does not take risks that have the potential to lose him the game.
Yeah, and really smart player. We're going to see a Siphon Soul on this Flame Tongue Totem, and we saw a really smart trade with the Healing Totem into the Slime to keep everything alive. Defender of Argus comes down. He brings his opponent Powder down to 15. Will he go? I don't think you should go any lower than 15, but you're going to have 10 damage next turn. Okay, if you go down to 13, it would make... And he's got a Hex, actually, so I changed my mind. 13's okay here with a Hex or an Earth Shock, because you're not going to be able to get down 2 Moltens unless you tap, and that'll lock you out of a certain taunters like the Defender of Argus. Shadow Flame does come down, clearing this entire board. At 13 health, though, we can see Lethal here with a Rock Biter for 10 and a 6-mana Fire Elemental for the last 3. And boom goes Le Dynamite here, finishing off Faramir. Really nice, finishing off Powder here. Faramir taking this series